question is, earlier you were describing the 54 events whereby they were trying to come up with evidence.
Right.
Do you have any idea how much money they spent specifically on that program and how many people are being employed to do nothing, essentially?
Yeah, I have no idea, but NSA's budget just keeps growing. I mean, it was all top secret until the Snowden document came out and said what the budget was. So there's a huge, NSA is the largest intelligence agency in the world. It's 35,000 employees, and you've got the another 15,000 or so that are contractors. So you got all that money and all those people out there, and yeah, that's the big question. What do you get out of it? And it's almost like they're doing it because it's an academic exercise, because we can do it. Or we're eavesdropping because we can, so we will. And that's really a problem. And that's why, if you have a Senate and House Intelligence Committee that don't hold their feet to the fire, like the Church Committee, the committees, it wasn't just church, but there were other committees back in the 70s that did that. You're going to have these programs. Again, as I mentioned, the NSA kept arguing that the internet metadata, the email metadata program, was a roaring success until they were forced by only 2 senators, Udall and Wyden, to put up or shut up. And they couldn't put up, so they had to shut the program down. So, you know, and while I'm thinking of it, just so I can mention it because I forgot it before, but we were talking about, you know, whistleblowers and so forth, and you know, penalizing whistleblowers. Well, you know, where's the penalties in the U.S. government for breaking the law? Where was Clapper? I mean, he hasn't even been criticized by the president, let alone indicted. And, you know, how many people from the warrantless eavesdropping operation were ever prosecuted? That was complete violation of the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act. I know that act inside out. If you have even in a time of war, you only have, I think it was 5 extra days to do warrantless eavesdropping. After that, you go back to the warrant. But nobody ever gets punished. It's this lack of accountability. General Alexander, head of the NSA, he was the equivalent of a captain of an aircraft carrier that just ran into the Rock of Gibraltar. You know, would a Navy captain still be running the ship? I mean, he's still running the NSA, the worst security breach in U.S. history. So there's no accountability within the administration. You've got to start with accountability before you start getting any reform. How are you going to get reform if you let the same people make all the mistakes, continue making them?
Yeah. I'm from the Government Accountability Project, and we represent Edward Snowden and Tom Drake and Bill Binney and Kirk Wiebe and Ed Lewis. And I just wanted to point out that the Congress actually took out of the Whistleblower Protection Enhancement Act any protections from retaliation for intelligence community whistleblowers, and therefore they're vulnerable to any action the government takes against them or a private corporation. Do you see on the horizon any enhanced protections from reprisal coming from the Congress or the Obama administration?
Yeah, you point out, you know, some really important facts there. The fact that the whistleblowers don't have protection, and that's one of the things that the administration keeps talking about. Well, you know, they have these proper channels they can go through. Well, they don't have those proper channels, and I don't see any legislation. I've been watching this for years, because that's, you know, my bread and butter comes from whistleblowers. That's how I'm able to write a lot of the things I do. And to give you one quick example here, one of the people that I quoted from in my last book, Shadow Factory, was Adrian Kinney, who was a employee of, who was an NSA, what they call voice intercept operator, down at the NSA's huge listening post in the state of Georgia here, where they eavesdrop on a lot of the Middle East communications, remotely through satellites and so forth. She was, among the things that they were doing was eavesdropping on Americans, calling Americans. In other words, journalists or aid workers or Americans who happen to be in the Middle East who happen to call their spouses in the United States and were having bedtime conversations and so forth. And she didn't particularly want to listen to that. She said it was like reading somebody's diary. She didn't want to do it. So she protested all the way up from her little position at the listening post in Georgia, all the way up to the head of the Army Intelligence and Security Command, which ran all that. And his name happened to be Keith Alexander at the time. And that got nowhere. So then she climbed up the ladder on the congressional side, got all the way to Senate Intelligence Committee Chairman Leahy. And again, nothing happened. So she finally talked to me, and I really asked her to go full face and full name and let me use that. Because otherwise the government's going to just say, oh, you're just making it up or whatever. So she did, and it was a very brave act on her part. But she felt very strongly that the government was doing this. And this is the problem that whistleblowers face. They don't have any real protection. We were able to do a few things behind the scenes that got her protection within 2 hours of the time when we came out with my book was on ABC News. Senator Rockefeller, on the chairman of the Senate Intelligence Committee at the time, agreed to hold hearings, or not hold hearings, but agreed to an investigation. And they immediately asked her if she would testify, and she said she would, which made her a witness before a committee. So they couldn't prosecute her without obstructing an investigation of Congress. So you have to do all these things in order to protect sources, but I've never had a source ever get arrested or prosecuted, and I want to keep it that way. But listen, it's been...
Jim, we told C-SPAN we'd quit at 8:15.
Okay.
There's so many questions out here. Would you stay and answer some questions?
Yeah, I don't want to keep people here who don't want to be here, so if you want to leave,
there are a lot of questions. So.
I'm happy to keep asking them.
Thank you so much, Jim.